Hello, hope I'm doing well. And we have the PR7 Datamine. It came out fairly early, so I've been taking some notes, kind of going through it. Not everything's been translated yet, so I had to Google translate some stuff, so some stuff may not be entirely accurate. How it appears in game is more of a preview than anything else. Once we get them in game tomorrow, then that'll be what they actually are. But as a preview, get you a good idea what's going on. Help you decide who you're going to do first. We have Admiral Nakhimov, Napoli, Daisen, Halford, and Bayard. Nakhimov needs 300 Northern Parliament and 200 Royal Navy tech points to unlock. Napoli needs 300 Royal Navy and 200 Sardinia tech points to unlock. Daisen requires 950 Sakura Empire tech points to unlock. Halford requires 950 Eagle Union tech points. And Bayard requires 230 Iris Libre tech points. So the ones that just require one, pretty hefty requirements there. French one, not too many French ships at the moment, but there's a decent amount. And then honestly, the DR seem pretty easy to get. The amount we have right now. Ships here. I am going to go over my notes. We're gonna start with the ships and move on to the gear. Just my general thoughts on how they are. So let's get into it. So first up is Admiral Nakhimov. She is a DR carrier of the Northern Parliament. For her stats, she is the highest HP out of the Rainbow carriers, with the lowest AA and the highest aviation, but she just beats out Haku by 6 points in that department. She's the second highest reload behind Yorktown 2, but she's just barely ahead of the rest. Yorktown 2 is pretty high compared to them. And then her accuracy is the highest of these carriers in that tier by a long shot. So fairly fast, fairly accurate, good damage, pretty tanky, so seems pretty good. At Dev 30, she gets the fleet tech bonuses, as all ships do that are PR. And her second slot, which is normally just for dive bombers, once she's Dev 30, can equip any type of plane. So you can run double fighters, double torpedo bombers, or run a dive bomber in there. So you have really good flexibility with her. Very flexible, as you can tell by her art. So for her first skill, she buffs her own aviation, hit, and crit rate by good amounts. And when she launches an airstrike, she launches an additional special airstrike that applies shocks to all enemies on the field after 5 seconds, which slows them by 60% for 5 seconds. So I'm seeing this as being really good for mobbing. Nice little alternative there. It doesn't completely stop them or gradually speed them up. It's more of the old school slow and has a delay on it. So you either need really fast planes, make it work with the boss fleet. But with her other skills too, I see her being very, very good for mob fleet purposes. And her second skill, when she launches an airstrike, reduce enemies' AA and evasion by 5%, and they take 5% more damage for 6 seconds, prioritizing human enemies such as sirens or the enemy Shipgirls. And when enemies are slowed by other Northern Parliament ships' skills, these enemies are affected by a flawed debuff, and enemies with a flawed debuff are frozen in place when they are applied with a shock from Nakhimov's own skill for 2.5 seconds. So you can get a combo going where you do block people in place. And then Nakhimov will do a 40% extra crit damage to enemies with the flawed debuff. So it'd be nice to have someone in your Northern Parliament in your Vanguard or from another source that can inflict a slow. That way Nakhimov just deals even more damage. And her last skill, really good survival skill, extra AA and aviation. And her last skill, really good survival skill, extra AA and evasion by 15%. And at the start of battle, her detection bar regenerates 2 points per second for 5 seconds. This happens every 20 seconds. So she becomes less detected, pretty much, and less likely to hit. And when her HP falls below 40%, resets the whole bar and takes 0 damage from burns for 8 seconds. And it's only proc once per battle. So got decent survivability, really tanky, really strong. I see her being quite useful for a variety of things. Use her in mob fleets, boss fleets. You can use her in support fleet for like chapter 15. So you can run double fighters. and her stats are really good. Definitely worthwhile doing her. Very strong. So if you can unlock her, I'd say go for it. It's gonna take a while to unlock. You don't have the requirements yet for the XP or what factions that they are, but soon Northern Parliament and probably Royal Navy and Eagle Union has been in the past, or maybe Sardinia. It says Royal Navy for the requirements to unlock her, so I'm thinking it'll be Royal Navy for the XP to grind her up and finish building her. Next up is Napoli, our other DR. Compared to the other DRs that are CAs, which there aren't a whole lot, she has the highest HP, the lowest firepower, the lowest torpedo, but she doesn't have torpedo mounts, to be fair. Second highest AA, second highest reload, and lowest evasion. But what's interesting is she has CL guns as her secondaries and not DD guns or torpedoes, which is quite interesting. And I'm a big fan of secondaries, as we'll see. With her skill, she gets a special secondary gun. So this is on top of her existing one that she can equip. And this will fire every second. And if there are any enemies within 40 units of her main gun, secondary, and special secondary, so all her offensive guns, ignore shields. So they don't have to be AP to get that effect, which is really cool. Fairly potent. You want to burn and just ignore their shields. There you go. And she also gets some stats. More offensive and defensive. Second skill is smoke screen. So, like all smoke screens, it does not stack with other smoke screens, but she fires a special shell, which is like the flare shell, it seems like, that makes a special smoke screen only for Napoli. That when she's in it, she gets the evasion buff, and also her secondary gun, not the special one, but just her main secondary gun, it's extra efficient. It's an additional 100% extra efficiency. So if she's close to some people and she's firing her smoke screen shell, she's going to start shredding people with that secondary. It's really cool. Yeah, nothing too spectacular. Definitely interesting, the smoke screens and her secondaries. But other than that, not super high priority, I don't feel. Good. But I feel like you just use something like Hindenburg and one of the large cruisers. Got plenty of them. So, not bad. I don't know what order I'll farm her in. Probably last, unfortunately, just because she's a Vanguard ship. Yep, that was Napoli. And she will more than likely be Royal Navy and Sardinia requirements. Next up is Daisen. She is a battleship of the Sakura Empire. Stats wise, on the higher end for the gold BBs. She has the same firepower as Nagato, so she's in the top half, but nothing super special there. Her AA is not great. Just torpedo stat. She's the highest reload out of all the battleships thus far, and her accuracy is kind of middle of the road. Nothing special there. Nothing crazy with her dev stuff. With her first skill, she has alternating buffs, which when she fires. So one effect is enemies will hit with a special burn for 15 seconds. That's cool. Guaranteed burn and special, so that means it stacks. Or she procs a torpedo barrage. So fires torpedoes, that could be nice, depending on the spread. And if she's equipped with a Sakura Empire anti-air gun, she reverses that buff order. So the first one would be the torpedo barrage and then the burn. If you don't have the Sakura gun, then burn, torpedo barrage. So, and when her HP falls below 30%, that barrage gets both of the buffs. So she's honestly a person that can get knocked down quite a bit, and it benefits her. So yeah, that's nice, interesting. Especially if it's someone who can help protect her if she falls below that certain threshold. And she will launch a scout plane when she finishes reloading her main gun, which marks the first away enemy who will take 20% more damage from just her for 10 seconds. But if the scout plane is shot down, she'll heal all your Vanguard for 8%. And if it's shot down a second time, it will heal the lowest HP% Vanguard ship for 5%, but only once per battle. So, not a reliable heal, but it could be a decent heal for shorter battles with enemies that have a lot of AA. They're going to shoot that down. Yeah, can't use that too often, so I'm not a reliable healer, but extra healing is always nice. So not terrible, not fantastic. Probably just grab Nagato instead from the monthly pull of the metal shop. So when that rotates around to battles for you, Nagato and Locker, but I feel like just use Nagato instead. But not terrible, nothing fantastic here. And next up is Halford, the one I was most excited for. Her stats are just middle of the road. There's nothing too standout other than her anti-sub, which is very, very good. She's a Fletcher. They're a Swiss Army knife. You can throw them anywhere, and they do well, but nothing crazy. Her torpedo stats okay, but it's not like a soccer one, which is insane. So, yeah, stats-wise, she's like a Fletcher. She's good, but not particularly great in any one particular category, other than her ASW. When she gets to Dev 10, she can equip her float plane. That's nice. There you go. Anti-air guns of seaplanes. If she has EO unit gear equipped, she gets extra aviation. So basically, if you have a plane equipped, there you go. Easy to fill that requirement. And at the start of bout, every 15 seconds after that, mark an enemy, reducing its aviation. Reducing its evasion by 10% for 6 seconds, and prioritizes humanoid enemies. And she'll also launch a float plane barrage. If the marked enemy is hit by the float plane barrage, they'll take 8% more damage from firepower-based attacks, so battleship guns, or vanguard guns, that kind of stuff, for 6 seconds. So it should be a nice buffer for your vanguard fleet and your battleships. And every 15 seconds for 6 seconds. Okay. I mean, that should line up. Let's say it's at like the 18-second mark, so at the 24-second mark. That's okay with like the AP guns. Nice. Is that a better buff for someone like Plymouth? Ooh. Better than someone like Kushino? Yes. And her other skill, extra evasion by 30%. And if she has full plane equipped, she can launch a smoke screen with every other airstrike, starting with the odds. And enemies last for 5 seconds, and ships get the typical evasion rate buff. That's nice, and doesn't stack. So it seems to be support. Not too crazy with the skills. That's like, oh my goodness, you gotta have her. So nice support for firepower based fleets, but other than that, kind of a niche thing. Float plane is nice. It'll be the best float plane. It does give some cool buffs for equipping it, aka DD, which gives them more planes. That's nice. And lastly, Bayard. She is a light cruiser of the Iris Libre. Got very good HP, strong firepower, strong torpedo, decently strong AA, decent evasion, and her ASW is kind of meh. There's cruisers with a lot better ASW. Unfortunately, her stuff is not translated yet, but it wasn't too crazy. Nothing too special in here. Just extra efficiencies, special barrage, handgun base, just stuff like that. And then during the battle, she will buff her own speed and evasion and fire a special barrage. And then she'll also buff her own firepower and reload. And the lower HP she has, the more damage she does. And when she gets below 50%, she'll dodge all attacks, all damage actually, for 5 seconds. And reduces the accuracy of all enemies on the field at that time by 50%, which lasts till the end of battle. So that's a nice debuff. Just make your whole fleet dodgy. Cool. However, this can only trigger once per battle. So you can't reapply this multiple times throughout enemies. So I can see that being useful in some occasions, like really accurate enemies, maybe in like a boss thing, special challenge mode where you're intentionally let her get knocked down, and she applies the debuff, and then the rest of your ships can just dodge tank everything. That could be an interesting use for her. So it's gear time, starting off with the carrier-based LA-9. This is our UR gear for this time around. Obviously has the highest aviation of all the fighters, 5. The rocket plane, so it can't intercept. And its AA, its damage is much higher barrage, but much slower compared to the VAR, the Rocket Hellcat. Extremely good versus medium armor enemies, but less so against other enemy types. But just the sheer aviation will kind of make up for that. It says she can't. It says this plane can't be equipped by aviation battleships, according to here. But we'll see if Kearsarge can do it. Hopefully she can. That'd be really nice. If not, it'll suck a little bit. So hopefully she can, but we'll see. Overall, pretty strong. It's gonna take you a while to get it, but definitely worthwhile using once you get it. Next up is the Torpedo Bomber, also from the Northern Parliament. It's a faster but weaker version of the Torpedo Bomber from PR5 that came with Chokolov. So instead of the previous one where it had 4 torpedoes, the previous one which had 6 torpedoes and 2 rows of 3, this one just has 4. So obviously less damage, but it's much faster. So if you want to have more rapid planes versus harder hitting planes, you can do this. Pair it with something like a Suisse and then a super fast plane like the German rocket fire or something like that. And you can get some good amount of planes going off, especially if you pair some with, especially if you paired up with someone like Independence fleet, and she's also buffing their reload. So, it'd be interesting to see the actual use of this. I think just use the already existing torpedo bomber. That's basically the same thing. It says mode adjustment, so we'll have to see what that means. If it has like a special skill or something. I don't know what mode adjustment means, so we'll have to see on that one. But I'm not too impressed with it at this point in time. Next up is our CA gun. This is AP or Napoli. Really pretty strong. It's a decent option. It's much better than heavy armor enemies than the other AP guns we got. So, and it's not rainbow, so it doesn't take as long to get it. Just slightly stronger. A lot of the other ones are like 105 or 100 and spread out. And then the other options will have like 80 or 70 for heavy. So, better for heavy enemies than some other options. And next up, we have Napoli's secondary gun. This is the first semi-armor piercing CL gun, which is interesting to me. I thought we had one already, but apparently not, because the one that came with Duca is AP. It's a good damage reload. Just it's semi-armor piercing. And it doesn't have like the Ignite chance as HE, and doesn't have the armor penetration of AP. So it's kind of that weird spot. But for niche uses, I can see it being useful. Like medium armor enemy bosses. Yeah, nothing special there. Crazy. And now we have the float plane. FAF Bearcat. I know it says Panda here, but it's the Bearcat. It is a special skill. When equipped by a destroyer, that destroyer launches its airstrike. 3 additional F8Fs will be launched. So just more damage, more AA capabilities, cool stuff like that. And this will just be the new go-to float plane, pretty much. The other one, the Sarin, I think does a little more damage with its bombs, but the AA from this is nice, and the bombs aren't bad on this one. It's just they're not the massive bombs that are on the Sarin. So, the Sarin does have the extra damage for aviation submarines, but that's I-13. So, yeah, this will be your go-to for, want to bring back Fuso retrofit, like I did for the beginning of the game. And lastly, we have the Win 410mm. This is the Sakura Empire BB gun, Daisen's gun. Good against medium and heavy, same modifiers. It's a twin mount, so it's a little faster. And what I'm mainly thinking about with this gun is Musashi. So Musashi's skill needs her to have a Sakura Empire main gun. Now, your options aren't particularly fantastic. You have the 18-inch, well, 18.1-inch gun that she came with. That is slower than a turtle. That's not great. And then you have the Azumo gun, which isn't terrible, but isn't fantastic. And then you have, for HE, you have that purple gun. Or, you could run the confetti gun too. That's also an option. So I'm thinking this is like a faster version of the Zumo gun. Obviously, it has one less shell. It's only twin. It was triple. I think it's a good alternative to that. And we get on Musashi. So that was a little quick overview of all the new ships and the new gear. Let me know who you're going for first and what gear you really like. And thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.